Welcome everyone to today's episode of Women Who Rock the World. I already m- made a mistake saying the podcast name. Welcome everyone to Women Who Rock the World. Today, with me, I have a very special guest. She's a documentary and tour photographer. Her name is Visone. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. So classy.
Puri, as I said, she's a documentary and tour photographer. She has worked and works with amazing bands like New Kids on the Block, Godsmack, Limp Bizkit, and so many others. Together, we have her own series that she's gonna tell us more about it. And yeah, welcome again, Puri. What would you like to say about yourself and your work?
So I've been a photographer since I was 11, big dreams of hanging with the band Hanson. That was my whole motivation to become a photographer so I can hang out with Hanson. So ever since then, I had that idea in my head. I started taking pictures of my sister and my cousins as if they were a band. And then later found out that documentary photography is a thing. So I started photographing my family, and it all just kind of stacked on top of each other between shooting documentary style and also loving music. I kind of molded them together, and that's my career right now.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. I mean, the one of the main reasons why I created this podcast was to inspire, women out there and inspire people to follow their dreams and do what they love. And it's great that you were able to combine, your passion for photography and your passion for music, of course, and make it a career. But how did it start? Like, what was, let's say, the starting point of your career? Because I would figure when you were 11, of course, you saw Hanson and you were
Yeah.
passionate about them. But then, how
Yeah,
did that
real
happen?
life kicked in. That was kind of like a dream. So I started just taking photos, obviously, like for myself, and then in high school I took a photography class, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this seriously. I went to school in Boston, college, for photography, and then I also at the same time was touring with my then ex-boyfriend's band. So I was doing like van tours and stuff. So I was mixing it together pretty early on, and then sort of, I want to say happenstance, but not really. Like I got on my first tour like through a guy I met when I was 16 who later started a company like years later. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like being in the industry and loving it since I was young built the foundation for me to actually get on a tour bus. You know what I mean? So I would love to say it's an overnight success, but it was not.
It was
it
like
was
how
it was
how
in the
long
making from
how long
age
did it take
11, you
you?
know.
How long did it take you from, let's say, the first pictures that you took professionally to make to the point that you made it a career?
Well, I'm wondering what the first professional pictures I took were. You know what I mean? Because I started just locally, like with local bands. So was I getting paid? No. I guess if you talk about getting paid, oh gosh, I don't know. Like even then, like I would photograph like my mom's friends' kids and stuff. And so I guess that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first time I got paid, just but it really was for the love of it and not for the money, like
Mhm.
definitely at the beginning. And now it's all for the money. No, I'm just kidding.
Both.
But yeah, it the first actual tour I was on was Blondie, and that was in 2010. And that was like the first like tour bus tour that I was on. And it was super eye opening because I was, thrown in with you're living with these people, you know what I mean? And I'm just like hanging out with Blondie, who are just legends.
Mhm.
And I'm like, how did I get here? How this is insane. And I was just taking it all in. I was taking as many photos as I could without trying to be creepy. And it yeah, it all stemmed from there.
Yeah, how you mentioned you studied photography. How important do you think it is to study something, and like what's the balance between what you study and then putting what you study in real life, and into your work?
Well,
Do you think
I
oh
went to
sorry.
school for photography, like straight up, like it started with photo the first year. Usually like art schools start with all the basics and everything. But what did I use? Honestly, I learned the most in high school, like to learn the physics of the camera. And then by then it was more based on like being an artist and having your work in art galleries. And we had we had a couple like commercial photography classes that we shot like on 4x5 and slide film and all that stuff, because that was like how they used to do it like back in the day, like super commercial stuff was shot on slide film. And so I learned all of that, and then like right when I graduated they got rid of all of that sort of like old school process stuff. So I'm glad I got in there like right before then. But yes, of course, I'm sure it influenced me and helped me in some way to like with my photography career, but can I pinpoint something? No. Honestly, no. Like if I had to redo it, would I go to college? Probably not. And I know that sounds awful, but I mean, I have a degree and that's cool because I could teach and I have a few times, and it's fun. But other than that, I think just actually going out there and just doing it yourself is like way more of a lesson than going to 4 years of school and being in debt. Like I could have
Mhm.
spent all of that money traveling and meeting
Or
people
on
and
gear
networking.
straight
Yeah,
away?
exactly. But I'm, still paying it back because, I have a degree. It's just on my bookshelf, like in with a bunch of other photo books. Just as important as the other photo books. So, but yeah.
How's your life today? Because you go on tour with bands.
Mm.
So I'm
I
sure
mean,
you don't
it's
have like
great.
a typical you don't have like a typical day. But what's your life like when you're on tour? And what's your life like when you're, let's say, back home from a tour, like relaxing, or like how is it?
I honestly love like I just said this like a couple weeks ago. We were having this conversation on tour because people either like are like super old school roadie where they're like, oh, I just want to get home, like get me home, 3 more shows, you know what I mean? And then there's other people who are just like, yeah, this is sick. And I'm always happy to be where I am. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
right now I'm home, but I'm also excited for what's coming up next. So it's like right now I'm at home. I love it. I'm like hanging out with my nieces. I just chill straight up. Like I have a list of stuff that I want to do just to, to promote myself and sort of get the new job, the freelancer's life. You know what I mean? It's the constant
Mhm.
like what's going to be my next job. So I have things like, create a new reel, update my website, all that kind of stuff, which I do enjoy doing. So when I'm at home, I like to chill, but also just work on my social media presence basically. And then when I'm on tour, it's um it's always just fun, honestly, because my job is to hang out and take pictures. So, I mean, it's whatever fun is happening, oh, Paris needs to go cuz she has to get pictures. You know what I mean? It's really I think it's a glitch in the system, that we
Mhm.
figured out. Like
Mhm.
going on tour, people cook for you, you get to hang out with rock stars, and you get to photograph all day. Like I don't think it gets better than that, honestly. And you get paid, and you're
Yeah.
like traveling around, and people like know my name at shows. They're like, Paris, what's going on? Like I feel famous. So yeah, it's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. But I
So
also
you
like being at home. Being at home's great too, but I'm not making money, so there's that.
yeah.
But I'm spending it. That's fun too.
So you're on the bus with the band.
Sometimes I'm on the bus with the band, sometimes I'm on the bus with the crew.
Okay.
Honestly, I love being on the bus with the crew because I
Mhm.
get to take a break. You know what I mean? Especially like even when I'm on the bus and I have work to do, but we're driving, I cut it off there, like, because I do get sick just like
Mhm.
working in with the movement of the bus. So it's kind of it's good to have that sort of cutoff to where, yeah, you are working, but yeah, you do need to sleep. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you can fill your whole day with editing, especially if you're doing photo and video. It's like you can always come up with something to edit, you know?
Yeah.
So it's good to like cut off the work at some point.
You do all of your editing or most of your editing while you're on tour, or
Mhm.
is there stuff that you
Oh,
can?
yeah. No, because I'm not getting paid to do it while I'm at home, so I gotta
Mhm.
get it all done beforehand, or else I'm like, photos I do every night right after the show. So while everyone's loading out, I'm doing photos, and we usually finish like at the same time, which is awesome because then we can hang out after, and I'm not
Mhm.
just still editing. And then video, I'll do the next day, like before the show. So I kind of compartmentalize it like that. And if there's anything like extra, like, oh, we need a photo for this, a photo for that, I'll just do that, whatever, when I'm home and I'll send it and correct it. But the bulk of the editing is like I put stuff in a Dropbox, it's on there. And if they need it, I just resend them the link. I go, here you go, you can find it. Because, once again, I'm not getting paid to be at home. So like if I'm on the computer all day, I'm like, what's going on? You know. So that's why
Yeah.
I do everything on tour, send it off, and then you can find it. And then if you need high res and stuff, obviously I'll do that. That takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, going through and finding specific shots, and I got everything because you film and photograph a tour for 50 shows, you pretty much can cover every aspect of the show. So I leave it up to management to go find that.
Yeah. I mean, after like let's say a month long tour or something, how many pictures do you take? Do you
Oh
ever
my
count
gosh,
them? Like,
it's crazy. Well, I'll usually shoot like 1,500 ish a show, between two cameras, and yeah, video is whatever. Like if something is happening that's funny, like who knows, you know. Um, but yeah, it's around 1,500, and then there's like 700 ish meet and greet photos, especially for new kids, because we do a ton of meet and greets, and we also do like individual meet and greets where they get like 50, 60 photos for that one person with all of the guys and interactions and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot. I feel bad for my cameras. I'm just constantly clicking. But you know what? I haven't had any, knock on wood. I haven't had any sort of meltdown, card wise, camera wise, lens wise, flash wise. I've not had a breakdown, which is kind of insane. It's always my nightmare. But I have backups on backups, so don't worry. But yeah, it's a lot.
I bet. What's your I mean, the world of art, and pictures being and videos, of course, being art. Have you ever did it ever occur to you that one of your photos ended up online without your permission and was like used, without your permission and they were making money or something like that? You don't have to say maybe who or
You know,
whatever up to you.
it's funny because I I have this conversation a lot. We're at a time right now where there's old school way of thinking and like a new school way of thinking, and I'm kind of sort of right in the middle, with like usage. And I've it's I've kind of given up, honestly, to tell
Okay.
you the truth. Um, like if it's used in a publication, okay, like you can always be like, here's the proof, you know. But if it's used online and you say something, they'll just take it down, and that's usually the case. And I don't know, I kind of don't care. And I know that's awful to say, but if something's being used on social media and they credit me and that's it, it's like, cool. At least people are seeing it. If they make a print and if they're selling something, of course, that's going to be sort of an issue. But most of the time, when I'm photographing for these people, like they're hiring me directly. So I've been paid for these photos,
Mhm, mhm.
Um, and a lot of the time, like they're my friends. I work with these bands over the years, so I'm not going to be like, hey, you owe me $50 for
Yeah.
that. It's just kind of like, that's not, it's just not where my priority is. I don't sweat the small stuff. And to me, that's just the small stuff. And I could care less. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but that's like your retirement, like all of your photos and your rights and the usage. And it's, yeah, but also who's cataloging all that? Who's putting that all on like websites? Because it needs to be labeled and, have a date. And it's just, that's a nightmare to me. That's like not what I want to do as a photographer. That's
Yeah.
like data
Yeah.
entry.
Absolutely.
And to me, like, you can't even pay me enough to do that kind of stuff. So I don't want to do it. Maybe I'll hire someone, but then that kind of making money, paying money to make money. I don't know. You know what I mean? I just kind of,
It's kind of
I'm
like the
just kind of
passive
like
income. The
yeah,
passive income.
maybe I'll just buy an apartment or something and have that be my passive. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's things that I'm more interested in than data entry and people using my photo like this small, like on a website. Like, I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
just don't care. So that's that unpopular opinion, but it's just how I choose to live my
No, but
life.
no, it actually, I mean, my opinion, I agree with what you said regarding um, it's if the small stuff,
Yeah.
because of course, if they're printing it and they're selling it, it's a different story, and then it's worth your time, or
Hmm.
it's more worth your time. It has nothing to do with money, maybe, but it's
Right.
just a little bit of the principle, a little bit of the fact that it's like it's a big f you, on your
Right.
work and respect. But the small stuff and doing things out of principle, sometimes I see a lot of people, not just for photos, but getting upset because they didn't get credited. And of course it matters, especially these days, but at the
Hmm.
same time, getting upset over and over, I think it's not gonna help, or
Yeah.
not gonna help much, because then
I
you
think
end up
that's a general in life sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, just getting mad at little stuff that, like, it doesn't really matter. I just kind of, the older I get, the less I care. And I'm just like, do your thing, whatever. Cuz I could just work one day and that makes up for like 10 of these potential conflicts.
yeah,
I don't even, it's
save your
just
energy for your
exactly.
creativity.
Yeah. So
And
don't steal my images, but if you
by
do,
the
I
way,
don't
yeah,
care. Honestly.
by the way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I went through a lot of your photos, because I believe, I I felt I could understand you more, through your pictures,
Sweet.
because
Yeah.
it's your soul there. It's how it's not, everything about a person, a photographer is in their pictures. But in your opinion, how can you gather the moment for a picture, especially during a live show? Because you hear the sound, of course, you're
Hmm.
there, you know the moment. Video is different, of course, because it has sound as well. But how do you think you can portray, that exact moment with the same energy through a picture that has no audio?
It's crazy because when I was first photographing concerts, I sort of was just going for what I wanted to go for. Like, I liked weird moments. I liked artsy, sort of cool shots that, like, you don't see all the time. And then you also have people that shoot very conventional, very like, this is the person, this is the stage, like shot from front of house, you know what I mean? Telephoto lens, like, this is it. And I've sort of developed like, it it's hard because you have yourself and you know what you want, and then you have marketing, which they know what they want, and then you have the band and they know what they want. And sort of getting, and the thing is, when you're on tour you can get everything, like, you have the time to get everything, so it's cool. But there are just sort of different things that you kind of have to think about. Like, yes, the band wants it to look huge and wants it to look like it has energy because that's going to sell tickets, right? And it
Yeah.
makes them look cool. And anything that makes them look like godlike, like they love that. You know what I mean? And me too. Like I want to make them look good. But I also really like those sort of nice, like quiet moments where they're just like kind of playing with themselves, you know what I mean, where it's almost like the eyes closed, like they're just feeling the music. Like I love that stuff too. But would it be great to sell a tour? No, definitely not. But would it look cool on my wall? Absolutely. Will someone like it? I think so. Will most people like the big energetic shots? Probably. um but I think that just has to go with like creating art and like what are you creating for, like are you marketing, are you creating art for yourself, are you creating out art for the artist, or are you creating marketing for the artist? Like there's just so many different things. And then there's also vanity, like people looking good. You know, I've had tons of shots where it's like so awesome and someone's like, oh, my chin, you know, and it's just like, yeah, you're right, your chin does not look good there. And then you have the the thing of, do you fix the chin or do you scrap the photo? And I'm always fixing that chin. I'll tell you that right now. I have no shame to Photoshop
Yeah.
for non-documentary purposes, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but yeah, because, and that's the thing. Like, it's, I don't, I know a lot of people, it's like a controversial thing, but I feel like if you're fixing a double chin, I think it's kind of all right, because if my camera was just a little bit higher, you probably wouldn't have seen the double
Mhm,
chin, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
when it's just an angle situation, I'm good with it. But if you're like changing like major body shapes and like making things look weird, I'm not into it. But if it's something that could be fixed with an angle or lighting, I think it's okay. For marketing purposes, not documentary purposes. But yeah.
It's something about your pictures that got my attention is that they look, and this is my opinion, of course, they look super cool and polished, but they always have that raw element to it, that reality to it.
That's
And I
awesome.
love this combination.
Thank you. That's a great compliment. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah,
It's
that's, I
what it
mean, yeah, that's just what it is. Like I'm trying to really show like how it feels, you know, rather than just like what it is. So that finding the right moment, finding the right energy, and then also sort of, it's sometimes, you know, it feels, and I don't heavily Photoshop my stuff. Like I will do what is necessary. Like it's just like same with like the chin thing. Like if I can do it in a dark room, that's what I'm doing in Photoshop, right? So I'm doing like dodging and burning basically. And I'm just darkening areas, giving certain blacks to some areas, lightening up some, giving it contrast. Like that's it. Nothing crazy. Um, but sort of making it even throughout, or brighter and darker in some places that you want to, you know, get rid of something. If there's a crowd that's, you know, kind of thin, just darken that baby up just a little bit so it doesn't, it, so you know what I mean? Like you're not changing. I'm not adding people in there. I'm just darkening the place where they aren't. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just, I think that spending time editing your photos is super important because it also, it gives you sort of your look as well. You know, you have your compositions and sort of your style of shooting, but a lot of it has to do with the editing, and a lot of people don't realize that. I see so many great photographs that are edited horribly, and I'm like, "Oof, that is a good photo, like, you're almost there," but
Yeah,
just
too
that
bad that it
polishing of it, yeah, it's really, and, you know, I'll crop too if I need to, but I keep the same ratio, you know,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
so, um, but yeah, I think that editing, if people focus a little bit more on editing, there'd be a lot more better photos going on, you know? it's fun to shoot, but I also love editing as well. So fall in love with editing, and then your pictures will be better, I promise.
How do you manage? Because of course, I mean, being on tour, it's tough. A lot of people don't realize it. They think it's fun, of course, as you mentioned, especially when you're there. They're all friends. You're like in a family, but at the same time, there's a schedule. There's a time, sometimes time zones, or you go through a lot. and
Mhm.
and and doesn't matter. You cannot call in sick. And that goes for the artist,
Right.
that goes for you, that goes for everyone. You just have to be there. You have to show up. How do you feel this has impacted your personal life? Because of course you're away, but also like you personally on taking care of yourself and
It's
realizing the importance of it.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, mental health is huge being on tour because it's such an extreme situation. There's yeah, you basically have a family and it's not your actual family, so you can hate them and feel all right about it. And then you can also just get burnt out on people because not only are you working with them, you are living with them, you are sharing a space, you are dude, it's just um it's a lot. So it's important to keep in touch with your family at home so you remember that this isn't the only thing in the world because sometimes it feels like that. And also to become actual friends with the people that you work with is fun too. Like I've made most of my friends I've made on tour, and it kind of sucks because when I'm home I don't have any friends. But it's also really nice because you just, hey, do you want to do this? Like we have days off, and I'm more exhausted on my days off because I'm hanging out with my friends, and we're in a random place, and we want to go shopping here. We want to do this, Like you got to take advantage of traveling too. So it's it's definitely extreme, but also in a good way, but you also do need to like have your personal time. And also just find the people that you get along with and hang out with them and talk it out. You know what I mean? If someone's having a bad day, if something weird happened, like don't let it just like fester, like actually talk it out because it's very hard to ignore someone when you're sleeping like this far away from them in the bunk right above you. But yeah, it's extreme. And then there's also the fact I'm talking about crew, but there's also working with the band. Like, not only are you kind of living with these people, but you work for them, but with them as well. And it's also weird being a creative working for a creative because it's just like, I know what they want, they know what they want, they know what I want. And it's like, where does the line go? Like, you hired me to be me, but now you want me to do this because it's your band. I get it. You want your band to look like this. So it's like, it's kind of crazy that it actually works. And sometimes it doesn't, not gonna lie. But it's the amount of tours that I feel super comfortable on compared to it was just one that I didn't, you know what I mean? I only quit once, and it was at the end of the tour. I didn't leave it in the middle or anything, but um sometimes people just don't get along, and I think that that's okay because I think there's another tour where you can get along with the different types of people. Some camps are super uptight, some aren't. Some are super crass. I can get down with that, but I can also adapt to just being like super nice all the time.
Yeah.
So I do like to laugh though, that's a must.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's extreme and it's cool. And I don't know why there isn't a TV show on it, like a reality TV show, because that would be good. It'd be
Maybe
great.
we could.
It would
Well,
have to be on HBO or something, like because it would get weird, but it would be super interesting.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, there was something that I wanted to ask you, but I forgot because you mentioned the TV show on it, and it actually got several ideas out of me. Um, but because you have a series called Gender Roles and Appearance, or you
Mhm.
had a series. Um, since this podcast is more, let's say, for women, so I'm talking about like gender and gender roles. Um, are there a lot of women in your job, especially, in music? Or how do you think gender affects, if it affects at all, your job?
It's crazy because I was just having this conversation yesterday with my boyfriend. There have been a lot of women more now than like when I started. So I started touring in 2010, and I was always like the only girl for probably, God, until like recently, like maybe like 2018. God, it's not that recent anymore. Holy crap. Um but yeah, there's a lot more women now. And the thing is they're kind of in women roles, which is fine. We're getting there, but it it's pretty great because I used to have to hang out with guys all day, and I was one of the guys. And you know what? I'm still one of the guys. It's fine because you kind of have to have thick skin to be on the road. And I'm not saying women don't have thick skin, but if you had to take a poll, my sister would not survive on tour. I'll tell you that right now. A lot of women like wouldn't like that, I think. If I'm gonna generalize, which I don't love to do, but
Yeah.
um it's it's like, it's definitely gotten a lot better. Um, as far as well, I was talking with my boyfriend about there's an artist that I work with that wants to hire women, and we were having the conversation of like, is that okay to like
Mm,
want to hire women? And I go, yes, it is, because it's sort of like there has to have been a bunch of times where I didn't get hired because I was a woman, right? And this
mm,
artist isn't saying they don't want to hire men. They're saying they would prefer to hire women. He's like, but isn't that discrimination? I go, no, because they're not saying no to the man. They're just saying, we
prefer.
want to be female driven, and it's sort of normalizing a little bit more, which I think is awesome. Um, I've recently sort of did like a sidestep in my career where I'm directing video now. So I'm doing basically when you see like the big screens on the stage, the IMAG stuff they call it. I'm directing that. So I have like a team of camera people, and I'm back there like pushing the buttons, like camera 3, zoom in, all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of like a new thing for me, and apparently there's not like a ton of female video directors. So I'm pretty excited to like get into that, because if you think about it, it's kind of a new thing, like have been only happening for so long, and then there's always audio and lights, but video is more new than that. So I think it's pretty cool that there's women taking on these roles that are, in lighting, in audio, and they're slowly like creeping in. We have a bunch of females on a bus, and it's so much cleaner than otherwise.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah,
Last question. What's your next engagement? Where are you going next?
I
Or for?
think it depends. There's nothing set in stone yet, but Godsmack is doing a European tour
Hmm.
next year in the beginning of the year. Whether they're taking video or not, I'm not sure, because I passed on my role to Francesca Ludicar. I don't know if you've seen her work, but we tour with Godsmack together. I used to be the photographer. I passed it off to her. She's awesome. She's great. And then I direct the video. So if they're doing video on that tour, I'll be there, and then we tour together, and it's awesome because we create content for each other, and it's it's the best. I like have my own like content creator, and she owes me. I got her a job. So but yeah, so that's next. And then just I want to explore video directing more, because I just really enjoyed. I've done like 3 tours now where I've just been video directing, and it's awesome because I don't have to edit anything at the end of the night. I just pack my stuff up and I'm done and I'm ready for the next day. And it's cool because I also, one of the struggles with photographing on tour was trying to come up with something different every day from the same show, and that was sort of, like, weighing on me for, like,
Mhm.
13 years, and it's, like, always creating something new, 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 and this is sort of like once you get the tour figured out, you kinda just roll with the same thing and you just try to get it better every time. So, I kinda like that where it's you put all the work in beforehand and then let it roll throughout the tour rather than having to, like, really struggle to get different stuff from the same thing every night. So, yeah, almost 40 and creating a different career path for myself. But what are you going to do? Who cares? Let's just keep it
No, but I
interesting.
think it's well, it's part of being a creative. I think,
Yeah.
because it's doing the same thing over and over, and then maybe it might not be as creative, or you do it more when it becomes a job. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the
Hmm.
risks
Yeah.
of the job. When you're in art, it becomes a job, and then whoa, what happens? Is it still going to be creative? Am I still going to be happy about it and be
Hmm.
creative and feel like an outlet? So it's good, to change, keep being in the same, of course.
Of course. Yeah. And then, and I'll always photograph. Like, I love it. So it's like I'm taking a little bit of a break right now, but I'm still taking pictures when I'm at home and stuff. So, you know, it's good. It's always good to switch it up a little bit.
Cool. Well, thanks, Paris, for being with us. Thanks so
Yeah,
much for
thanks
your
so
time.
much.
Thanks for being open, about your life on tour, your career,
Of course.
and I hope this of inspiration to many people and women out there,
Yeah.
that want to do your job and or want to be in art, and they don't know how to do it or if they should do it, and they have like an example that you want to do it, you do it.
Yeah. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, just DM me on Instagram and, I'll give you my advice. I've been around the block once or two. I feel like I'm qualified to give some advice right now. So let me know.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. Bye.